What's up guys, I'm Justin Ball and welcome back to The Recording Percussionist, where I show you everything you need to know to get from that beginning stage of looking at a microphone or camera for the very first time to that intermediate stage where you feel confident in your ability to set up, record, and edit an entire recording session all on your own. Today, we're taking a break from all the specs talk to discuss the importance of creating a controlled recording environment. There are a few things that you can do when you're setting up the room to ensure that you're getting high quality recordings every single time. Before you do anything, one of the most important considerations is when you record. Pick a time of day that you know will be the least noisy, as that noise, or lack thereof, is going to show up in your recording. If you're at home and maybe you live on a busy street, maybe late at night works best. If you're at school, perhaps after band is over and everyone is left for the day. If neither of those work, try super early in the morning before anybody gets there. I'm definitely a morning person, so what I would do is set up the night before so that when I arrive in the morning, I'm only a warm up and record button away from getting started. As far as setting up goes, the first thing I like to do is clear the room as much as I possibly can. If you're in a percussion studio or storage space, get rid of anything that's going to rattle or resonate in response to the instrument that you're recording. In my experience, the biggest culprits are concert bass drums, timpani, toms, and hi-hats. If you don't have anywhere to put these instruments, have some towels handy to cover them up. You don't want anything contaminating the sound of the instrument you want to record. One time I was recording with Tommy Dobbs, and we spent an entire hour throwing stuff at the ceiling trying to get rid of this rattle. It kind of felt like that Breaking Bad episode where Walt and Jesse get all paranoid and try to kill the housefly because they think it's going to contaminate their meth. Make sure that the fans and air conditioning are off, including your computer fan. I used to use a Mac and had to download an application that allowed me to adjust my fan speed, which is really helpful until you forget to set it in your doctoral recital and more than half of your recording is accompanied by a very loud fan in the background, rendering any attempts at noise reduction completely useless. If you need to, show up early and set the temperature lower or higher to compensate for any effects the outside weather may have on the room, and more importantly, the performer. There's nothing worse than doing a million takes in a row of something when you're so hot but can't. Once the fans are off and all background noise minimized, check your instrument. Make sure everything is secure and sounding the best that it ever has. If it's a snare drum, set aside some time to put on new heads, get that perfect snare response, and get used to how it feels. If it's a marimba, change the string ahead of time. If you can afford it, send the bars out enough in advance that you can get them tuned, returned, and still have enough time to get used to the way that they feel and sound before recording. Have a friend help you tune the resonators, and spend some time tightening all the little nuts and bolts that could possibly result in extracurricular noise. If you're recording a timpani piece with tuning changes, make sure the pedals are operating smoothly and that the heads are set properly. Remember, recordings last forever, and unfortunately, so do the mistakes that we make in them. Another really important thing to understand is that what you hear behind the instrument is not an accurate representation of what you sound like. However, what your buddy hears across the room is. Nothing captures and interprets sound better than our own ears. So, take some time to trade places, have him or her play a bit with you listening from across the room to get an idea of what you're going to sound like. Aside from the recording process, you'll learn so much more about your instrument during this process, which will help you become a better player in the long run. Once you've got your instrument in place, your mics and cameras set up, and you start recording, don't move anything. It's very important that after you begin recording, unless you have intentions of starting over for some reason, that the mics and instruments stay where they are. Even the slightest movement can have a drastic impact on the recording and/or video quality. If you do have to move the equipment for some reason, be sure to mark the spots where you had the instruments and the mics with tape, and jot down all of your settings before tearing down. This way you can reset with more confidence and less guesswork. Unfortunately, this also includes everything else in the room, because if any of the surrounding materials aren't in the same spot, the way that the sound is reflecting off of them will also be different. So it can be helpful to take a few pictures or maybe even a panorama shot of the room to make sure you have an idea of where everything was. Now, all of this is worst case scenario, because even if you're pretty close, it's just not ideal. This is why it's super important to allot sufficient time when you record. My general rule of thumb is reserving enough time to record what I need to twice. This way, if something goes wrong, which you can pretty much count on your first few times, I know that I've still got enough time to redo something and I don't stress too much about it. To show some sort of respect, because let's face it, just because you're recording doesn't mean the rest of the world comes to a crashing halt until you're done. Put up a sign that says recording in progress. I find that in general, people respond better when given an option. So, recording in progress just tells them that, yeah, there's a recording in progress. However, they get to make the decision to be quiet themselves rather than being told to do something. Look, I know, it's dumb that we're even talking about this, but hey, if it gets you better recordings, I say go for it. As you approach the date of your recording, making a simple checklist for yourself can go a long way. Don't be one of those people that looks back on the recording sessions and thinks that they could have done better. The less you have to worry about during the recording session, the better you or the person you're recording is going to perform, and the higher level product you'll come out with on the other side. Thanks so much for watching, I hope you enjoyed it, and if you're learning as much as I am from this series, consider subscribing and check out the next video where I walk you through the process of determining instrument and microphone placement. Until then, happy recording.